I was sewing without a plan in the month of June, which means that I have a lot of new things to share with you. We don't have any time to waste, so let's just get straight to it. Hi, my name is Sarah, and my channel is all about sewing and styling a handmade wardrobe. If you're new here, welcome. Every month I do a roundup of my makes and I rank them according to my least favorite to my most favorite. So we're going to be counting down the makes in just a second, but before we get to that, let's talk about this month's alterations and repairs. Talk about is this jumpsuit. It's a vintage McCall's 5375. I made this last year out of this linen viscose, and this was just a very simple, quick, easy fix. The button had popped off in the wash, so I just sewed it back on by hand. It's almost not even worth mentioning, but I just wanted to talk about it in case you're the kind of person like me who will put stuff in a basket when all it needs is a tiny, simple little fix. And hopefully this gives you just a little bit of encouragement to go ahead and fix those things so you can get them back in your wardrobe and wear them. The next item is McCall's 8035. This is a dress that I made a couple of years ago, and it had a petal sleeve, and I just never liked that sleeve. It just wasn't my favorite. It was a little bit too poofy at the shoulder, and I just didn't like it. So I ended up removing the sleeves and doing bias binding on the armholes. If I can remember correctly, I think I did have to scoop the armhole just a little bit to get it low enough so that it looked right. And then I also, while I was at it, I just top stitched down the back facing so that it won't move. And in this fabric, you can't even see it. So I do really like this dress apart from the sleeves, and I haven't had an opportunity to really wear it yet, but I'm hoping that I will get it out more this summer and wear it, because before it was just gathering dust in my closet. Next is another vintage pattern. This is Simplicity 7881. I had made these pleated pants out of a linen viscose blend, and they were just a little bit too big in the waist, and I did not put belt loops on these, and so the pants just kept falling down whenever I wore them. So this was another pretty simple, easy fix. I unpicked the waistband in the back, and then I added a piece of elastic that was just like an inch or maybe slightly over an inch shorter than the actual back waist width, so that when I put that elastic in and stitch the waistband back down, it's just ever so slightly gathered, and that helps the pants stay up on my waistline. So again, I have not had an opportunity to wear these again. I really need to iron them first, but I'm hoping to get them back in the rotation because they are really fun in this bright pink color. The last alteration that I have is Simplicity 2184. This is a midi skirt that I made a couple of years ago. And even though at the time it's a bias cut skirt and I let it hang and I tried to make the hem even, but I had just done a really bad job and it was very uneven. So I went ahead and unpicked the hem and ironed it, and then tried to level out the hem so that it's actually even all the way around. It is a little bit shorter now. It's definitely a true midi skirt, which to be honest is not my favorite length because it kind of cuts me off at a weird place on my calves, but it is what it is. It's definitely better than it was before, and this is another one that I just did this, so I haven't had a chance to wear it yet, but I'm hoping that it'll be a lot more wearable now. Now, as I always do in my monthly makes videos, I'm going to send you to different segments that I have filmed throughout the month. We're going to count down my makes in June from my least favorite to my most favorite, and I'll put the rankings on title cards. And I do put chapters on this video because it usually ends up being pretty long, so you can just skip to the parts that you're interested in, and I hope that you enjoy. I was able to get something out of my timeout basket without actually doing anything. So this is the Wixton Shift top. I made this back in 2021 and I just never reached for it. I don't really know why. I like the top, there's nothing wrong with it. I thought maybe it was a little bit boring, and so I think maybe it was the next year. I added a pocket to the chest to kind of spice it up a little bit and make it more interesting, and then I still didn't wear it. So it was sitting in my basket because I decided that I should just convert this to a pajama top, because I know that I will wear this as pajamas even if I don't wear it in my normal wardrobe. But that meant that I needed to make a pair of matching shorts so that I could have a pajama set. Now this double gauze fabric was from a needle sharp box, and so I had a lot of fabric left over from making this top, so plenty to make a pair of shorts. I actually still have enough fabric left over to make something else at some point. So I sewed the Papercut Patterns Tula shorts, which is my favorite elastic waist pants and shorts pattern. I've made it 5 times before. I've made 2 pairs of pants and 3 pairs of shorts. I started with the size 2, but I've made a lot of fit modifications over the many times that I've sewn it, so I don't remember exactly all of the fit modifications that I made. But this time around, because I was making pajamas, I did leave off a lot of the details. And so I omitted the pockets, I omitted the faux fly front, I left off the drawstring, and I used 2-inch elastic, and I just stitched down one time in the middle of the elastic so that it won't twist. It was a very, very simple make, and I took one day to cut it out and one day to sew it, but I really could have done it all in just a couple of hours. And the project cost for this one, if you divide it between the fabric that I used for this piece, it was around $42. Now, this may not be the most exciting project I've sewn this month, but I am really happy to have done this because now I have a PJ set and I can finally get some more use out of this top. And to be honest, I really did need new PJs in my wardrobe because I don't know about you guys, but I am just really bad about not being willing to get rid of certain types of clothing like PJs and workout wear and lounge wear. Unless it's actually like literally falling apart, I just keep wearing my old stuff over and over and over again. So I have several pairs of ready-to-wear pajamas that are in my wardrobe that have just really seen better days and are really kind of shabby looking at this point. So I'm very happy to be able to retire at least one pair of those pajamas and replace it with this set. Because it's a double gauze, I know it's going to be so comfortable to wear any time of year. In this particular setup with a short sleeve top and a pair of shorts, that's how I prefer my pajamas to be even in the winter because I do tend to get hot at night. So yeah, not a whole lot to say about this particular make, but I'm just really, really happy to have it finished, and I feel like I accomplished something by getting something else out of my timeout basket, even if I didn't really have to make any edits to this one in order to get it done. I have one finished knitwear project to share with you this month, and these are a pair of plain vanilla socks that I knit for my niece for her birthday. The yarn that I used is Desert Vista Dye Works. It's their Zien Sparkle Base, and the colorway is called Big Magic. It took me 21 days to knit this pair of socks from start to finish, and the project cost was around $30. I don't remember exactly how much I paid for this skein of yarn, but something in the neighborhood of $30, and I did not use a pattern, so there was no associated cost for that. These socks were knit toe up with Judy's Magic Cast On. I did a wedge toe. I did an afterthought heel, so I put the heel in after I completed the socks. It has 1x1 ribbing at the top. And then I did add some short rows to the afterthought heel here just to give it a little bit of shaping and make it easier to get on and off. I recently asked my niece what her favorite colors were, and she said pink and light blue, and so I thought this would make a really good colorway for socks for her. She's only 12 years old, but she's already wearing a size 9. My brother wears a size 14, so I think she inherited the Bigfoot thing from him. So this did take a fair amount of time to knit because I'm used to knitting socks for myself and I wear a size 5. But it was fine and I really enjoyed it. I knit these using my size 0, which is a 2mm carbons. I did them one at a time. And I was able to successfully match the socks, so they're pretty much perfect, and I'm very proud of myself for that. So I'm actually working on knitting a second pair of socks for my niece right now. I'm going to be visiting family in July, so I really hope to have both pairs of socks finished so I can just give them to her then. Her birthday's not until August, but it'll be a little bit of an early birthday gift. And I really don't know very much about Gen Alpha, but my understanding of socks right now is that they're meant to be longer, like crew length, and that the kids like to wear them with their sneakers and slouch them down. So I made these with a 6-inch leg. Hopefully she can incorporate that into her wardrobe. And it'll be a fun and funky pair that she can wear and just show off those nice bright colors. The next make I have to share is McCall's 7405. This was another Minerva sponsored project, and the fabric that I used was their Echo Vero Viscose in this exclusive print, which is so fun. I absolutely love the colors. I made view A of this dress, and I did a size extra small in the front and a size small on the back in order to make more room for my upper back. However, in retrospect, I didn't really need to do that. I probably could have just stuck with simply doing the extra small. I did end up shortening the dress by about 5 inches because I wanted it to be above the knee. I was able to complete this entire dress in just 2 days, and the project cost was around $7, and that includes the price of the pattern and then a little bit of a cushion. Since the fabric was free, I'm not including the charge for that in this calculation. So my motivation for making this dress is because I wanted a few dresses in my closet that I could wear on really hot days, on the kind of days where you just don't want any fabric touching your body. And because this dress is just so loose, it's kind of like a trapeze dress or a tent dress or whatever you want to call it, I don't really need to wear a bra with this because the fabric isn't sheer and it's not body hugging, so you can't even tell whether or not I'm wearing a bra. Now that happens to be a good thing because I did make a mistake with this. Before I made the pattern, I did read several reviews on Instagram and Sewing Pattern Review, and they all said that you have to keep in mind that the armholes are way too deep, and I just completely forgot about it by the time I actually cut out my pattern and started prepping it. So the armholes on this dress are pretty low, and if I was trying to wear like a strapless bra or even like my sticky bra, I think that it would probably show on the sides. So if I were to make this dress again, I would definitely shorten the bodice, probably by like 1.5 inches, just to bring that armhole up. Now I sewed this entire dress on my sewing machine. I did not use my serger, so I did French seams on the sides. There's a center back seam and you have like a little keyhole in the back. So I ended up doing basically like almost like flat felled seams, like where I top stitched it on the outside. So it is a really nice, neat, clean finish. I think that it'll last a really long time. One thing that I did not expect with this fabric that was a really pleasant surprise is that it doesn't really wrinkle. Like I have laundered this dress the way that I'm wearing it right now, and I've laid it flat to dry, and I didn't have to iron it at all, which is very surprising for a viscose. I'm hoping that that trend continues. And yeah, this is pretty much exactly what I had pictured. It'll be great for something like a swim cover-up or just to wear on a really hot day. I've definitely shown it in the pictures with both a belt so you can cinch it in a little bit at the waist, but I also like the way that it looks loose. It's just very flowy and comfortable in a very casual style. It'd be a good dress to bring on a vacation, especially if the wrinkle resistant thing holds up. So I am very happy with this dress. Right now, I don't really see the need to make another one. I don't really need another one like this in my closet at this moment, but I definitely would think about making the pattern again in the future if something came up. If I had like a special event, like a beach vacation or something, then maybe I would think about making another version that's longer. I don't know. But right now, I'm just going to enjoy this version, and I'm very happy with the way that it came out. The next item I have to share with you is this True Bias Jessie tee. I made this in just one day, and the project cost was about $14, and that includes the price of the fabric, and the pattern was free, and then just a little bit of a cushion. The fabric that I used is a leftover piece of cotton spandex jersey that I got from Surge Fabrics, and I had already made a different garment out of it, and this was using up those leftovers. Now I've been wanting to try this free t-shirt pattern for a little while. I really liked the look of the cropped view and that it's oversized and loose and boxy. And I really have it as one of my goals to make a navy version out of some fabric from my stash. But I thought I would try out this teal fabric first since I had it left over and just do it as kind of a wearable muslin. Now I made the size 0 in the cropped length, and I did not make any fit adjustments at all. And I'm fairly happy with the fit, except that I do think that the cropped length is a little bit too short. Like when I raise my arms, you can see my stomach. So next time that I make it, I will lengthen it probably another 1.5 inches. But besides that, it is a really loose fitting t-shirt. I think that the fit is fine. It's very comfortable to wear. And even though this was meant to just be a wearable muslin, I do think that I will get a lot of use out of it, just wearing it around the house or even out. It's a pretty good basic that I can see getting a lot of use in the future. I did construct the entire thing using just my serger and cover stitch. This was my first time using the cover stitch after I got it back from the repair shop from being serviced, and it does work a lot better than it did previously. I did have a few issues on this that I needed to make some more adjustments, so it's not perfect, but it's definitely functional, and I'm pretty happy with how that all worked out. The dress that I'm wearing is Simplicity 2246. This is an out-of-print pattern from 2011, and it's been in my stash since that time, and I've never made it yet. I made a size 6 at the shoulders, and I graded to a size 10 at the hips, and I sewed view B, which is kind of the traditional shirt view, only I added the collar from view A. The view B has just the collar stand. The fabric that I used is the lyocell denim that I bought from Joann Fabrics a couple of years ago, specifically to make a denim shirt dress. This was part of my Shop My Stash summer dress plans, but I did end up changing the pattern that I chose. Originally, I was going to use a different vintage pattern that had princess seams, But I think the thing that was holding me back with that one is that it's really hard for me to adjust a dress with princess seams and no waist seam, because you have to make so many adjustments for both the upper body and the lower body on all the different pattern pieces. So I decided to go with this one because it was simpler, and also because when I was in college I had a denim shirt dress that was pretty similar to this, only it had shorter sleeves and it was a lighter wash. But I really liked that dress. It was very practical and I wore it all the time, so I decided to make this one instead. Now I did have to make a number of adjustments to this pattern. I moved the bust dart down a little bit, and I also changed the pocket placement to be more centered on my chest. I graded up to a size 8 on the upper back and also in the biceps. I did shorten the length just 1 inch, and I shortened the sleeves 1 1/4 inches. Now the fit on this isn't perfect. I should have graded up to a size 10 in the upper back because I do feel like it's just a little bit tight up there. But it's still wearable. I still really like this dress. The fabric is really flowy and breezy, and I like the way that it looks cinched with a belt, but I've also styled it in the photos without a belt. I'm also looking forward to maybe wearing it open as sort of a layering piece. The sleeves have a really deep hem, so I just have it folded up here once as a cuff. Unfolded, they're kind of bracelet length, which admittedly is a little bit of an awkward length, but I think it's gonna be okay. I can still wear this dress year round. I do kind of wish that I had made those fit adjustments for my upper body, but it's still wearable and I think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it in the future. The next item that I have to share is this Helen's Closet Ashton top. This version is a wearable muslin, and I made it out of a leftover piece of linen viscose that I got from Minerva. It's a Lady McElroy fabric. So I made a size 2, and I added 3/8 of an inch at the upper back for my broad back. I did make a fit muslin for this. This is just some cotton fabric that was left over in my stash. I wanted to make a fit muslin because most of the time when I've tried other Helen's Closet patterns, they have needed quite a few adjustments. So I was actually pleasantly surprised that this didn't need too many adjustments. I did add the extra room at the back, just like I said, and then when I made this muslin and tried it on, there was a little bit of gaping in the back neck. So I consulted my favorite fitting book here, and it said in the book that you need to check if the width of the front neck equals the back neck, and on this particular pattern it didn't. The back neck was wider. So I just did a little bit of a correction, took 3/8 of an inch out of the back neckline, and that solved the gaping problem. In this version it doesn't gape. Now I did make an error on this fit muslin because I can't read directions, and I didn't realize that the neckline and the armholes have a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So when I made this version, I actually folded it down 5/8 of an inch and it fit really well. So when I made this version and did it correctly with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, the armholes are a little bit high on me. I would have preferred it to be just slightly lower. So the next time that I make this top, I'll probably just scoop the armhole here by 1/4 of an inch just to lower it that tiny little bit and make it more comfortable. Other than that, I think that the fit is really good. I really like this cropped length. I've been wanting to sew the Ashton top forever. I've had the pattern in my stash for a couple of years now, and this is my first time finally making it. And I wanted to get the pattern because it uses so little fabric that I think that it'd be a really good scrap buster. So I'm looking forward to making more versions in the future whenever I have some leftover fabric, or maybe combining different fabrics. It could be really fun to make a scrappy view. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I did do the facings on this, and I hand tacked them down in a few places so that they won't move. I didn't put interfacing on the facings just like the instructions said, but in the future I might consider using a lightweight interfacing just because I feel like it holds the shape a little bit better, but that's just my opinion. This pattern was super quick and easy. It only took me 2 days from start to finish, and that's printing out and taping the pattern together and then also doing this muslin and then making the real thing. Very, very quick and easy to sew. And the project cost was about $45, and that includes the price of the fabric, which was on the expensive side, and then the pattern itself, since this was the first time using the pattern. So not too much to say about this one. Very happy with that outcome, and I think it's going to get a lot of wear in the summertime, and I'm looking forward to making more. Shorts that I'm wearing is McCall's 8148, and I made this out of a leftover piece of 4-ounce cotton denim that I got from Joann Fabrics. I've used this particular fabric on several different projects, so I'm not sure what it's left over from, but it was in my stash and I wanted to make kind of a wearable muslin of these shorts. For sizing, I made the size 10 at the waist, but I did add an extra inch to the overall circumference, and then I graded down to a size 8 at the hip. The project cost was about $6 because I considered the fabric to be free since it was a leftover piece. The pattern I had already used once before and I got it from Joann for $1.99, so half of that is about $1, and then $5 for a cushion for the notions and things. And this project took me 4 days from start to finish. Now I no longer have the pair of pants that I made out of this pattern, but I think that where I went wrong was really more about a poor fabric choice than the pattern itself, so I decided to give it another try. I did use this remnant stretch cotton to make a muslin. I had bought this fabric from Joann a couple of years ago, and when I got it home and washed it, I realized that it's not very good quality. So I knew that I would never use it for a wearable garment, but it worked perfectly well for just a fit muslin. Now when I cut out this muslin, I added an inch to the size 10 waist because the first time I made it, I made the size 12 and that was a little bit too big. It was basically just directly in between the size 10 and the 12 in the waist. And I believe I also added a little bit more space in the front crotch. But other than that, I didn't really make any adjustments. I just sewed it up quickly and tried it on. And I did find, because this does happen to me quite a lot with pants patterns, that the center back was dipping down a little bit. And so I went ahead and put in an extra wedge of about 3/4 of an inch so that it would sit straight and flush across my center back. And then I also was getting a wedgie, and so I scooped about 1/4 inch on the crotch curve just to give myself a little bit more space there. And then the third thing that I found from this muslin was I felt like the front thighs were just a little bit too tight. So when I had altered the pattern piece to make more room for the waist, I added 3/8 of an inch to the front here, but I only added it at the top. I had tapered it down to nothing at the bottom. So I went ahead and detached that and just added that 3/8 of an inch all the way down through the whole front of the leg so that that would give me a little bit of extra space in the thigh, and I think that that worked out pretty well. So all in all, I actually didn't have to make too many adjustments to make this work for me. So I cut it out in this denim fabric and sewed it up. And fit-wise, it's pretty good. I do think that maybe I'm still getting a little bit of a wedgie in the back, and so I think the next time that I make these, I would probably scoop an additional 1/8 of an inch on the crotch curve just to give myself a little bit more space, but it's not too bad right now, but it could be better. The other thing about the instructions, I remember the first time when I made these that the welt pockets on the back were just, the instructions were impossible to follow. And in the fabric this dark, you're not even gonna see them anyway, so I just completely skipped the pockets. The back is just plain. Overall, I am pretty happy with how these turned out, and I feel like they're definitely wearable. The next version could use a couple more fit tweaks, but I do think it's a pattern that I will revisit again. I actually made these because I want to make a pair of black linen tailored shorts, but right now I don't have quite the right fabric in my stash, so it's something that I'm going to have to purchase in the future. But I am really glad to have these in my wardrobe, and I think that I will wear them a lot. I did wear them for a full day yesterday, and right when I first put them on, they did feel a little bit tight in the waist, so I was a little concerned that it was too small. But on the other hand, I have had a lot of experience with this fabric that it stretches out over time. It's 100% cotton, and it definitely starts to give throughout the day the more that you wear it. So by the end of the day, it was perfectly comfortable. It didn't feel tight anymore. So I think that my sizing was pretty spot on for this particular pattern. So I think this pattern is a nice basic that definitely has a place in my wardrobe. I would like to make another pair eventually, but for now I'm just going to enjoy these. And there's definitely a ton of different ways that I can style this. I think in my original photos I wore it with like a peasant style blouse, and then today I'm just wearing it with a tank top. Very versatile, lots of different options. You can dress it up or down. So I think this is going to get a lot of wear, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'm wearing is New Look 6605. I made a size 10 in view B, which is technically supposed to be the midi length, but because I'm short, it's a little bit longer on me. This was a Minerva sponsored project, and so the fabric that I received for free was this cotton canvas. It's kind of a medium weight. And the reason that I chose this particular fabric is because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be see-through. Since I knew I was making a skirt, I didn't want to have to line it. I will say that the fabric weight for this skirt is maybe a little bit on the heavy side. It might have been better to pick something that was just a little bit lighter, but it's not sheer, and so that's the important thing to me. And it holds its shape really nicely with the pleats, and so I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, even though I do think that maybe it's a little bit heavy for the elastic to hold the skirt up. For the changes to this garment, I did add some belt loops so that I could wear it with a belt. And I did a 2-inch blind hem by machine instead of doing a 1 1/4 inch hem. Just made it a little bit shorter for my preference. This project took me 4 days from start to finish, and the cost was about $9, and that includes the cost of the pattern and also a cushion. Now, my motivation for making this skirt is that white midi skirts or maxi skirts are very on trend right now, and it's just something that I think fits particularly well in my wardrobe. I wear white separates all the time. They're like a core part of my wardrobe. And I was really interested in making myself a long white skirt that I could pair with so many different things. T-shirts, tank tops, woven tops like this, button-ups. There's so many different ways you can style a skirt like this. I've had this new look pattern in my stash for quite a while, even though I haven't made it yet. And the thing that appealed to me about this particular pattern is that it has the pleats on the front, but it also has an elastic waist, because I find that skirts with fitted waistbands can get kind of uncomfortable sometimes. So I like the flexibility of having the elastic, but it still has that very structured look with the pleats. Now, I did put in the pockets, and I used a different, thinner fabric from my stash for the pockets. I used like a leftover kind of ecru colored sheeting. I would have liked to have picked an actual cotton that was like my skin tone so that it wouldn't show through. I kind of had to just go with what was in my stash, so it's not quite the right match. I'm not sure if you can see the pockets through the skirt or not, but I think it worked out okay. This was a very simple project to construct. I highly recommend the pattern. I didn't have any issues with it. And I absolutely love the skirt, and I'm so inspired with all the different potential for ways to style it. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see a separate styling video for the skirt, because honestly, the possibilities are just endless. And because the fabric is a little bit on the heavier side, I think that I'll be able to wear it 3 seasons out of the year. So it should have really good longevity and versatility in my wardrobe. So this was definitely a very good addition to my closet. I think it's going to be a great basic. And I would consider sewing this pattern again, but definitely not in this exact same style. I'd pick like a print or something a little bit different. But I do really like the style of the skirt, and I think that it's very easy to wear. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments which make was your favorite this month, and I will see you again in the next one.